Matteo Carcassi, he obviously is known for his method, Opus 59, and first of all, his 25 studies, Opus 60, which are very famous due to their beauty and their technical utility for learning to play the guitar. But he made a lot of other music. And the second most famous collection of pieces probably are the 6 Caprices, Opus 26. Let's dive in and have a look on number 1. Here is a definition of a capriccio. As a term in art theory, it describes the intentional, pleasurable violation of rules, the imaginative, playful transgression of academic norms without overriding the norm. The term was introduced into art history by Giorgio Vasari, who used it for everything that contradicted the art canon of his time. In music, Capriccio appeared for the first time in 1561 as Jacques de Berchem or Berchem, Franco-Flemish composer who lived in Italy, wrote some capricci. Jacques de Berchem probably is more known to us very, very indirectly by a painting of Caravaggio. The lute player actually contains in that book of music a tablature of music by Jacques de Berchem. That's interesting. But now let's come to Matteo Carcassi and his 6 Caprices. We have to have a look on what is actually capriccioso, what is different out of the norm in order to understand and play probably better those pieces. Number 1, at first glance, is just an arpeggio piece, and we could, well, think it's just a study. Arpeggio was the way to make an accompaniment of the voice, so actually just chords in a, well, figuration that uses the strings not all contemporaneously but one after another. So these pieces are arpeggio, so it's just a series of chords, or is there more in? And I think it's a kind of capriccio as arpeggio is concerned. So we have to look for the melody within those arpeggi. Now, the very first beginning, you see actually an arpeggio of the C major chord. And this is spelled in P-I-M-A in a 3/4 time signature. If you now look closer to the score, we see that the bass notes have the stem down. So this is normally read as played with the thumb. But actually, it marks as well a melody. Not so very interesting, not so very moving, but anyway, it's a melodic way of moving. And so we have to point that out. In order to see better what voices and what melodic movement is in here, what I do normally is reduce the arpeggio to the harmonic rhythm. You will see what I mean with this. If we reduce the first bar to the harmonic rhythm, we have the C major triad in the upper voices and the bass going in quarter notes. So here is unveiled the melodic movement of the bass. Let's take bar 1 and 2. And now it's getting a bit more interesting because we see we have a second melodic movement. Soprano and alto are going up to D and F. This is a slow movement, but anyway, it is a melodic movement. Then the bass does this melody. And this is relevant because we have C, E, C. And now in bar 2, we maintain the C, going down to B and D afterwards. And this has relevance because the soprano and the alto are changing. This is C major. This is G7 actually, it's lacking the third. And in the bass we still have the C. And played alone, you hear a dissonant sound because this C maintains the C that we had in the first bar. So this is dissonant, the bass note, as it does not move. This is counterpoint rules. This not moving note is the one to be resolved. And that's what's happening. Here is the B, and so we have our chord. If these two bars were only chords, it should be in this way. But it's not. It's that's much more beautiful. And this is what you actually have to know when you play that arpeggio piece. Well, here you see marked with that red arrows what I intend. We have the upper going melody in the soprano and alto, and the bass melody with the suspension. The C is the fourth to the G, which would be the root in this G7 chord. And so it's a 4-3 suspension. Check that out. Play that in the arpeggio as well. So this is actually the way I analyze all arpeggio pieces. Is there melodic and counterpointal work in that I have to point out? Or do I just have to play the figuration of a simple chord? And normally there is always counterpoint and voice leading in there that has to be respected. So this is the way I will analyze all the piece. In interpretation now, it's important to point out the dissonant note. And as I said, the dissonant note is the C, as it maintains its pitch, while the chord actually is changing. So we have to put an accent on that C in order to underline the dissonance. And resolve by a decrescendo or something. How is it going on? We are in G7, bar 3 and 4. What is here interesting is that the bass is very simple actually as bar 1. That's not too much of a melody, but there is still another melody in there, because in the first chord we have this C, in Italian C, in English it's B. B natural, watch my video on the note H, so you know my difficulty. So we have the B natural, which is going up to the D. So this melody in the contralto, in the alto voice. While in the bar 3, it's just a different spelling of the same chord, but in bar 4 we have again a suspension. Which resolves. It's a 2-1 suspension, or a 9-8. And that should be played out. Under this original you see the harmonic rhythm. This is all the second phrase. If we stop, we actually have very interesting chords, but they are not meant to be chords, but they are meant to be, well, put together a 4-voice harmony. So this is not that Carcassi liked an F major 7 chord, as he was a jazz musician. By the way, look that video on that study by Carcassi where I state that he probably invented jazz. Well, he did not. But anyway, here we have F major 7, but as consequence of the melody. Play that out. So we have in bar 5 we have this C major, and then the B flat as a dominant to F major, 9 suspension, F major with the major 7th, because we are going to this chord, which is D7, going to G major. dominant in C major, which is our main key, and back again to C major. In this bar, what is this, 5, 6, 7 and 8, you have the possibility to play both the melody descending in the soprano and then the A and the G. So within the arpeggio, you should try to play that melody now focusing on the soprano. In bar 5, focusing on the tenor, which is interesting. Here we close it. Going back to C major. Very interesting. Going on in that way, we discover the form of all the piece. Capriccio could be a very free form, actually. Let's have a look on how the form is. We have more or less 3 different parts. The A part, which is repeated, and both are 8 bars long. Then we have a B part, which has actually quite some difference in the first 8 and the second 8 measures, which is due to the tonality. Then the return of the second A part, so to say, and a very long ending, which is mainly in C major, first with a cadence 8 bars long, twice 4 bars, and then 9 bars of C major and nothing else. It's very long, when it's kind of Beethoven finish of a symphony movement. Now let's have a look on all the piece. The A1 part. And here you can see that there is the D Massenet version. Now the bass is going up. Different chord, which is F sharp diminished, which is a kind of dominant in C major, or a double suspension in G, G7, and the conclusion. The B1 part has now interesting voice leading between bass and tenor, or bass and contralto. Why isn't it clear if it's alto or tenor? Just because this part has only 3 voices. So the first 2 bars have this voice leading in the middle, responded in bar 3 and 4 of the B part. By the soprano. So playing this, I like very much to shift the attention in the first part from the 2 lower voices to the higher one. But anyway, having a focus still on the bass note. The tenor obviously has his importance, but it's not so very much important then. This sighing little motive in the soprano of a semitone. B2, just the same movement with another harmony in the ending. In B3, just the outer voices, the bass and the soprano, convert in counter movement. Twice in the very same way, so here you could actually play an echo or something. And in B4, we are going back to G, dominant in C major, to repeat the A part. Here the melody is very much in the soprano, so we had that in that B part, that the soprano was moving. But now it's the fifths, So the interval is getting larger, and the sighing motive that we had before in minor, to some way, is getting bigger and less sighing, probably. Now, the A part is very much as it was in the beginning, and we come to the finale, which is... a little conversation between the bass and the soprano. As this is mezzo forte, we have here a closed part, so we have just a two-note response to the bass. Now it's getting forte, and this is the cadence. Mezzo forte again. And once reached there, we get in that long part of only C major. So here is just the rest of that communication between bass and soprano. What is different, the single parts of the soprano and bass are longer than they were before. So we have kind of calming down by making melodies longer. The sentences are getting longer and slower to some mean. So we are calming down in that part. That all strengthened by the fact that we have to play in diminuendo, reaching piano at the end. And then the very, very ending part, the last one. So here everybody really knows that the piece is over. Yeah, that's quite Capriccioso, so to say. Waking up the audience that probably already fell asleep. Just to repeat my point, we have a normal arpeggio, which is in this case not simply putting one chord after another, but there is voice leading and melody in there that has to be teared out. And this is what is out of the normal arpeggio rule to accompany singing. In this way, Carcassi probably gets closer to the expectation of his students to have easy guitar playing, but with a certain artistic idea of playing, not only just chords, but melody in there and communication between voices in there, counterpoint, so to say. That's a kind of compromise that Saw, for example, never made. So he was always the one who wrote pieces too difficult to play because he did not make that kind of compromise, just putting in arpeggio as everybody played and wanted to play on guitar, enriched with some melodic mean. So I did not do that. Carcassi does here, but it's quite nice, not too difficult anyway, but a really nice piece to play. And if you try to tear out the different voices, you actually have some work to do. Okay, welcome to the end card, because this is the end card. You're still here, so you liked my video. That's great. And if you did so, look here. You can subscribe to the channel. Look here. You could look and watch other videos. They're great too. If this one is great, all the others are. Okay, see you next time. Bye.